Well, let's get some reaction to that, shall we, from Peter Pendle, who is the General Secretary of the TSSA Union. Thanks for being with us.
Sevi.
So what are your main concerns then?
Well, there's two aspects to this. Firstly, there's the consultation on the closure of the offices, and there's a statutory requirement for the train operating companies to go through consultation with the community, and that's starting today. We're opposed to the closure of ticket offices for a whole number of reasons, and I can go through those with you, and I can give examples if it would be helpful. So we're really hoping that the community organisations, those that represent the elderly and the disabled and such like, will put their views in on the consultation. The second aspect of it is how it's being implemented. Now, we took industrial action earlier on in the year, and we reached an agreement with the train operating companies through the rail delivery group, and part of that agreement, we stopped our industrial action. We said we're still opposed to the closure of the offices, but my members are not Luddites. They realise that change needs to come. So we made an agreement. We said we'll stop the industrial action. We won't take industrial action in ticket offices. The deal was that we would negotiate with them over the implementation of the changes. There'd be no compulsory redundancies till December 2024. There would be voluntary severance, and those that were redeployed, there'd be consultation around that. There was also a pay award as part of the deal.
So is it? Are you actually opposed to the ticket office closures then, or is it just a redundancy that you don't like?
No. We're opposed in principle to the ticket office closures.
But if no one gets sacked, then you'll suck it up.
If the change is going to happen, the change needs to be done properly. Can I tell you my day this morning? So that's the agreement. We haven't had any industrial action since TSSA. So my morning at 8:30, I had a meeting with the rail delivery group, and that meeting said, we're going to renege on the offer. The deal's out the window. We're not going to do it. So that's the score. By the time I got back to my desk, I had half a dozen emails from train operating companies saying that that Section 188 notices. Section 188 notice is what an employer has to do for formal consultation for redundancies. So we had a deal.
So is it the redundant? It feels to me like it's more the redundancies that you're up in arms about. Like, I know you, in an ideal world, you probably like every ticket office to stay open. But really, is this about redundancies?
It is, but it's also about. I mean, in principle, we think ticket offices should remain open. We think they're doing a service to passengers, we're committed to keeping them open. We're pragmatic. We realise that there's going to be change. If there's going to be change, then it needs to be done properly. Now, what the rail delivery group and the TOCs are saying is, well, we're going to move people out onto the concourses and they'll deal with members of the public. Well, that might work, and we can talk about that in a moment. But what faith can we have that in 2 or 3 years' time they're going to come along and say, well, actually, no, if they've reneged on the offer that we did in good faith.
As well. Yeah.
Can you imagine what had happened if we turned round and said, we're reneging on the offer, we're going to have a ballot for industrial action? What questions would you be asking me then?
Yeah. I guess my other point is, do you accept the need to save money when it comes to the railways? What's the public subsidy currently?
Well, off the top of my head, I can't answer that.
Billions. It's 11 billion a year or something like that, right? I mean, that's an awful lot of money that people are spending, and that's not even when you take into consideration ticket prices as well on our railways. Do you accept the need to save money?
I accept the need for efficiencies and for money to be spent effectively. I'm not convinced that that's what's happening at the moment. So ask the question, how much is going out of the railways into shareholders' profits, shareholders' dividends? Well, maybe if we stopped that, we'd have more money to maybe keep some of the ticket offices open. We campaign on bringing the railways back into the public sector. That would stop a lot of money leaking out of the railways.
So what's your next steps? Are you going to be striking?
Well, it's a tricky one, isn't it? My members are really very, very cross. I mean, I've had so many emails and texts and such like. They're really very, very cross. It's a bit of a dilemma for us, though, isn't it? Because we want to keep the ticket offices open. So we don't want to take action that's going to close the ticket offices when we want to keep them open. So I'm going to have to go back to the members and see what they want to do.
It's interesting interviewing you because, to be completely honest with you, you're quite unlike most other union bosses that I've interviewed. And I mean this kind of genuinely. You come across as more mild-mannered, a bit more on the one hand, on the other hand. Do you worry that actually that could be taken advantage of a bit here?
No, I can do table thumping.
I did
a bit of table thumping earlier on this morning when we met with the RDG. Yeah.
Okay.
But you know, we've got to be pragmatic, and we've got to get through this. My members are really very, very cross about this, and justifiably so. And I think
so. You're considering action. That would be fair, would it? Or
we're going to have to consider our strategy. The deal was we wouldn't take industrial action. They would do the things that I've outlined to you. They've reneged on that. We're going to have to go back and have a think about it. But it's also, you know, members of the public, the community. There is the consultation, the statutory consultation on ticket office closures, and we'll be campaigning with colleagues across the sector to make sure that there's a response and the government get the message very clearly back on that.
Thanks very much. It's been really interesting to talk. Thanks very much indeed.
Thanks, Sophie.